Sarah from The Upcoming. Such a pleasure to speak to you.
Good to meet you.
So I was absolutely blown away by the film. How do you, at this point in a franchise, sort of pay tribute to what's gone before, but also do something fresh?
I mean, that's the challenge every time. We've done 7 of these, and in this movie, we're in a different time period, which is always fun. Like the audience, I'm always amazed how the audiences react to Bumblebee in the 80s, this in the 90s. The music in this movie is incredible. We brought in a director who grew up on our movies. That was sort of the stroke of genius for this movie. He grew up loving Transformers 1, which we made. So he's that young. And so he brought that kind of passion into this movie. And I think he grew up on the Maximals, which was something that we had always talked about, but he was the one who was like, we can do it. I want to do it. I grew up loving this. So what's special about it is honestly Steven's much younger passion for it.
The thing that really stood out to me is, you've got this amazing cast and kind of the character arcs. There's so much heart in the film that balances out the action. How did you land on Anthony and Dominique, and how did you work with them to really bring out these amazing characters?
It was Steven's idea that we should focus on Brooklyn in this movie. And, the movie, when he came into it, was split into different pieces. We were going to Peru, but we were going to Africa, and we were doing a lot of different things. And he wanted to sort of boil it down to 2 big pieces. The origin story of humans and robots, which is Peru, and then Brooklyn, which was something, even though he grew up in Cleveland, that he had a passion for. And he had a relationship with Dominique. He knew a lot about Anthony, but they're both kids from Brooklyn, from that area, and that's how we landed on them for this movie. And you could see it in the movie. Some of the lines of dialogue that they're talking about are really about their lives, and how they grew up there. So they were pretty much the natural fit for this.
And in terms of the visuals, what I love about it, obviously using a lot of CGI, but it all feels very tangible and kind of contrasting kind of the grittiness of New York City and these amazing Peruvian landscapes. What was your approach in that sense? And how does that really make us feel more invested in the story when it feels very real?
That's the challenge of these movies always. We blend visual effects with real world photography, and that's why it feels real to you. But, the visual effects business for the last couple years has been really overbooked, and we had to push a year just to finish the visual effects because we didn't have availability from visual effects companies. So we spent most of the last year literally sitting in visual effects rooms, turning over effects and trying to make sure that every robot and every environment looked gritty and real like you're talking about. And in some cases there was things that we shot in reality that we had to turn into completely 3D worlds because we were doing so many different things with the robots and the character animation. And that was our struggle for the last year. It was painful every day of the week, but we got there, and I think everyone's pretty happy. There's always going to be one shot somewhere that you're going to say, that looks like animation, but for the most part, I think we got every little detail right.
And finally, what do you hope people take away? And I really like the fact that it's set in the 90s, being an older generation myself, and this amazing soundtrack. Was it really fun to kind of go back to this era?
It's always fun. Bumblebee was fun for the 80s, and the 90s is a whole different thing. That's not my expertise, is not the music in this movie. That's all Stephen Capel. But, every time he would put something in there and try it out, I was always amazed that people were like, oh my God, this music is so incredible. And then the problem is we went from New York to Peru, and then it wasn't feeling exactly right to put 90s hip hop in Peru, but we came up with, a way to sort of slide something in with Toby's music into the third action where it still felt right, but we could bring back the vibe of hip hop, and it's a blend of 90s vibe with very, very current stuff. So it was important to try to find a way to get back to that music at the end of the movie. You have no idea how much time we put into every single inch of that frame. So I want people to see it twice because they're going to miss things. And, it's hard to look around the entire scope of that thing and see everything that we were paying attention to. So it's got to be a big screen. And on a phone or on a TV, you're going to miss it. Well, first of all, brand new characters that we've never done before. For maybe 5, 6, 7 years, we've talked about the Maximals and animals. And I felt on this movie like I felt on the very first movie we made, which was, can we really pull this off? You know, can you make mechanical animals look real? Is it gonna look dumb? I mean, when we released the first movie, before we released it, we all looked at each other and said, is this the worst idea or is this the best idea for a movie? So when we did apes and rhinos, and I mean, that was the same kind of challenge as it was 15 years earlier when we were just trying to make mechanical photoreal creatures. So the Maximals are the reason to see it. I would be Mirage. Our new character is unbelievable. Pete Davidson, so funny, but just like a real human connection with that character. Like, that's my new favorite robot. My favorite thing, the journey we went on, honestly, was my favorite thing. Like, we started this thing in the heart of COVID, and we wore masks every day. We were in quarantine and getting into Canada, we had curfews every night. I mean, we were working till 9, but everything in Montreal closed at 8. So I was eating, Raisin Bran every night for dinner. I mean, we all did this together. We all suffered together. We all triumphed together.